also wanted to preserve his body. How much do you have to talk with Braxton about? There's times you need to get out of bounds, even though it's got to be tough for him. I'm sure he wants to, to show that he's a tough guy.
Well, we have talked to him about that. He's a competitor, and he's done better. I mean, you can see a couple other times he knows when to get down and step out of bounds, and that would have been probably, I think where we were at as an offense kind of had something to do. We were not playing very well. A lot of players on offense weren't playing very well, and so he was just trying to make a play.
Bob, middle. 500 points back. I'm curious how long after all the euphoria of the win, how long after that did it take before you kind of the reality of how hard that was, what your problems are, how long it takes that?
Immediate. I don't show it because I want our players deserve to enjoy that win, our fans, the student body. I mean, it was an incredible night for the Horseshoe and the people in there. And from what I understand, the people that left and hustled back in there. I don't blame them. But no, immediately. I mean, coaches are, cheering and having a great time, and then deep in your heart, you're knowing that we have a lot of work to do. And then obviously my heart and mind went right to our quarterback and make sure he, that's we all did. There's not a person associated with Ohio State and see that violent tackle, and so immediately to answer your question, Bob. This team lost 7 games a year ago. This team is kind of was reeling for a while, with all the stuff that's gone on. I think they're very appreciative. We had Victor Emil again for the 8th week in a row last night. And the one thing is there's some smart guys here. There's also some injured guys. Right now we're dealing with a roster. It's around 59 players, and of those 59, not everybody's playing, obviously, so the call to arms is still there. And rather disappointed in several handfuls of guys that haven't contributed. You start throwing those kind of numbers around, that's why you're seeing issues on kickoff. We had, I think, a nickname for the Piranhas. Piranhas are all out. And they're really good players, really good young players that beat out some older players to be on there. So some guys got to really step up.
Front row, Bill.
Dispatch. Braxton obviously took 2 shots at Michigan State. He was lucky to come back, and he did. And then this week he looked, obviously, took a bigger shot. Does it amaze you that he seems to be so resilient from injuries? And how concerned are you that if he's taking these shots, how's he going to last the season?
Very concerned, and he does. I don't want to say that. I don't know if I use the word amazed very often, but he's a tough guy. He's very strong, takes care of himself, and I don't want to say amazed, but he's a tough guy. And would you say how concerned? Very concerned. He's our best player.
What do you do to kind of make sure? I mean, obviously he's such a weapon for you guys, but you don't want to take that away. But how do you balance it?
I think we are trying to balance it. We don't go crazy with him as far as like running the ball. I think we're trying to balance it a little bit, but at some point, you got to try to move the ball a little bit too, and there's some limitations. So we're very cognizant of that.
Front row left, Doug.
Doug Lynn, playing dealer. Urban, obviously, it's good news that Braxton's okay, but just the way he looked when he came off today, it seemed like he could barely walk, and he just seemed to be in a lot of pain. Do you know what was it that was the pain at that moment? I mean, it's just sort of
his neck. He got like a whiplash. I had a long talk with him about it. He's just rattled. And once he settled down, he seemed to be fine. But yeah, he made a comment to me. He's never really been hurt. Never really been, as far as a bruise or a contusion or a sprained ankle, but never been like that. And it kind of rattled him a little bit, like it would rattle most athletes.
And just in general, you guys are you're 8-0. You said after 7 losses last year. Just how would you evaluate how you and your staff have coached this team so far this
year?
Pretty
good. Pretty good. I think a lot of dynamics that had to be overcome. Obviously, when the experiences that happened here a year ago, but I think then you start dealing with injuries. I think pretty good. I wouldn't grade an A+ or something. I'll evaluate that after the year. But Ohio State, we certainly got to get get healthy and develop and recruit and get going. We got to get. There's a lot of holes that need to be filled and enhanced, and that's through development and that's through health too. You start knocking some bodies out of there, and we got a problem. And Coach Mick was doing it. We have some guys playing inordinate amount of plays, 600 some snaps for some players that you really shouldn't. D linemen, that we should be starting to develop that rotation yet, but they're all freshmen behind them, and Mike Bennett's got to get going. He's been hurt, and so long answer for all things considered. I think pretty good, however, not good enough.
Great, Clay.
Yeah, Coach Clay Hall, ABC6. Have you developed kind of a healthy skepticism when you hear about an injury, like you said earlier this year? I get in John Simon's face, and I'm just curious if you got in the doctor's face or Braxton's face. Are you really, good? Were you satisfied by what they said?
Satisfied? I'm not sure.
He had no concussion and that he's good to go, other than the sore neck.
Oh, yeah, I was right there when the doctors were. I saw everything they saw. So, not that I'm a doctor, but no, I don't get any doctors' faces. It's not going to happen. Maybe when I was 36 or 37, when I matured. Not sure of the question, but I have great confidence in her. This is the best training staff I've ever been around, best medical staff, and these guys are fantastic.
Far left, front, Rusty.
Rusty Miller, AP. I don't know any other way to say this, but when he first went down, did your season kind of pass before your eyes for even an instant?
Sure. Yeah.
And going to Penn State.
I mean, the first thing is, Braxton, you okay? Then I saw that he was, and I thought, but the one thing about the old right-hander now, he's been pretty successful when he goes in there. Obviously, it changes our game plan a little bit, but he's been fairly successful going in the game.
Will you do anything different to prepare for the crowd at Beaver State?
No.
Noise, I assume, music, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we on Tuesday, and probably on Michigan State was very loud, and I understand this one's louder, so we'll probably go. We went, I think, Wednesday, Thursday. We'll probably go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The no huddle kind of helps you. It's not quite as an issue, where the one things that our issues are in emotions and shifts and those kind of things, just because you can't hear. But we'll certainly spend a lot of time on that.
One last thing, just for night games, do you think the crowd kind of gets fueled during the day, or why is it that the night crowd seems more excitable than perhaps at that time?
The politically correct answer? Yeah, sure, they're fueled or whatever you want to call it. It's just the atmosphere. We saw what it was like here in Nebraska, and it's something about night games.
Back left, Jared.
Urban, Jared Small, ABC4. I'm just curious. I think you had said weeks ago that you had studied with Bill Belichick, not only maybe in Florida, but even in your time off. I was just curious if you had encountered Bill O'Brien at that point, and what you learned about him at that stage of his career, what that maybe gives you an idea of what he's like now at Penn State, what kind of a coach and what kind of a leader he is.
It's more Josh McDaniels when I went up there twice and spent time with him. And then I actually, when I went up there, I spent more time on defense because I wanted to. I think I think as a head coach, you got to well-verse yourself a little bit, and so I spent all my time on defense the 2 times I went up there and sat in the meetings with Josh and Tom Brady. But I have great respect for Coach O'Brien. Obviously, he's doing a very good job.
It's a unique setting for both programs. Obviously, what he's dealing with and what you've had to deal with over the past year. It's intriguing that they meet in this scenario. Both teams are kind of trending up and all that. I'm just curious what you anticipate that will.
Well, I'm going to make this clear to our team. I did a little bit already. I mean, Penn State's been through. I have great admiration for Penn State. Always have, being from this area and what kind of school that is, and just the academics and everything. Just strong school. Make no mistake about it. Now, Penn State was undefeated at this time last year. And as a result, how do you beat undefeated? You have very, very good football players. I mean, like very good. They beat us at our home stadium last year. So that, make no mistake, I mean, I know it maybe started when you have a new staff, you have a couple things happen early in the year, but this is still Penn State, you know, and I know there's going to be some tough, you know, sanctions against them. I don't really understand all of them, but I'm like you guys, I read what I read. But, you know, the minute you say, whoa to Penn State or something, Penn State's got great football players right now. Great football players playing very well. They're very well coached. So I made that clear to our team, just like I'm making it clear that they're on point right now. And there's a bunch of NFL. Coach Coop, my personnel director, free personnel director, gave me the list. I mean, it's going to be a good draft day for the Penn State Nittany Lions.
Front row, Doug?
Doug Ayers, KTN News. Urban, with your history with quarterbacks running the spread, have you quarterback been hurt like this? I mean, this is like the fourth game in a row Braxton's took a hit and had to go out. Have you encountered that before?
Tim's taken a few. Alex, Chris Leak, and Josh. I don't believe so. I think this is the first time.
Is it because Braxton's a little more...
He doesn't go down very easily. You know, he's a competitive guy. And the good thing is he usually bounces right back up. And you know, this one was a tough one. Yeah, I'm trying to think. The other ones were out of bounds, a couple out of bounds shots, and they cramped another time. So yeah, but he just is a dynamic athlete. That's a little more difficult to bring down.
All right, David.
Coach David Wilkerson, Team TV. On Saturday, you pointed out Chris Fields how he kind of flipped that switch a few weeks ago, and we also had to talk with Jay. Today, you mentioned some guys haven't contributed. Do you still find guys buying in and changing their attitude on this team?
Well, sure. Yeah, every day someone makes every day I change. Every day, you know, you have opportunities. You have it every day. Something flashes across you that maybe you'll get a little better. And so we're nonstop. I believe that's one of the great things about college football as opposed to the NFL, that these kids aren't driven by paychecks. They're not trying to support their family. They're motivated by a multitude. And I mean, we could get into that now. That's about a 4-hour discussion, how to motivate a 19-year-old, 20-year-old. God bless the ones that are self-driven, self-motivated. That is very rare. So, yeah, I think we spend a lot of time. That's, if you say, what do I do for a living? I try to motivate 18, 19, 20-year-olds. And, you know, every once in a while I'll get involved in some other phases. But I think that's the thing that our staff, I'd like to think that's what we do as well as anybody in the country, is trying to pull guys out of a spiral and give them and I'm not just talking football. I'm talking about academics, talking about life after football, the whole deal. That's what's great about this job.
Front, Steve?
Yeah, Coach Steve.
And our quarterback is probably the poster child for that. I mean, I'm so proud of that guy right now. You know, to sit, we went to Victory Meal last night and sat and we played I wanted him to see that. I wanted to sit with him and watch the television version of the drive. And I just kept, you know, yelling Kenny Guyton, Kenny G or something like that. And the players were all laughing. We're watching him, and then to see him, the television did a great job of showing him on the sideline when the defense was out there playing. Kenny Guyton. And that's just, you know, imagine being Kenny's mom and dad sitting there watching that. That's all good, all good.
That was my question, Steve. How I can talk about this. Kenny Guyton kind of alluded to this a week or two ago that you might put him in the game before an injury or garbage time or whatever you call it. Is there a situation now going forward where maybe you'll use him, and is he in the plans of this?
No, I don't know yet. That's too early to tell, but the answer is probably, you know, has he earned the confidence to go in the game and perform? He has. Now he could throw the touchdown to Chris Fields. I said, feel free to throw a little harder and get it there a little quicker. Yeah. And on the keeper, when he got down to that yard line, feel free to get a couple more squats in there and get across the end zone.
Far left, Lori?
Lori Schmidt, 97.1 The Fan. Braxton, not your only injury this weekend. How are guys like Joshua Perry and Corey Brown?
Josh Perry, MRI, came back clean. He's ready to go. Philly Brown had dinged a little bit. He should be ready to go. They're still evaluating, but everybody tells me he's fine. Bogart, we lost Bogart. He's got an ACL. I love him. He's one of my favorite guys on the team. Top 5 guy on the team. Devin Bogart. First guy to lose his stripe as a Buckeye from obviously from up at a great school. Coach Ginn, the Tar Blooders. He's a great guy, man. And he was had one of those emotional moments after the game because he spills it. He gives it. He was getting ready to start getting a little more action as a defensive back too, because he played linebacker in high school, so playing in space was all new for him. But we can go out and recruit 100 Bogarts. Life will be pretty good around here.
Front row, Tim.
Tim A. Clemson Badge. A couple questions. Urban, number one, how do you keep talking about the defense basically being on fumes? I mean, maybe even the offense a little bit now and stuff. But how do you play things now, practice-wise and stuff, where you don't run out of
smart. We got to be smart, and we lose 15 bowl practices. I think I talked about this last week. So Sunday we went out and didn't go for a half hour. We went for 15 minutes. But we have an obligation to develop Ohio State too. So I mean, that's nonstop churning in my mind here. Is development of players, but also let's go win this game, because you don't want to get caught without players, which we're getting pretty close to getting caught. But you got to, that's why I'm trying to put as much pressure as I can on the guys that are just, eating that sandwich and eating victory meal, but had nothing to do with that. And the great teams, you don't have many of that. Obviously, we're not a great team yet, but we have far too much of that right now.
The Mountie kid, I think is how you pronounce it. Just
Recruited
talk about
a
him
great
a little bit,
kid.
just what you see of him on video. You saw him last year play live.
Well, I know his dad, his brother are Nittany Lions, and I recruited him really hard at Florida, and loved him as a high school athlete. For an ESPN thing, I went up and talked to him. He's a tough guy. He's a leader. Love his family. And he's playing his tail off after his knee injury.
That's what I'm saying. Can you see that the whole defense sort of like rallying around him and stuff, and vice versa?
He's that kind of personality. But we just had our offensive meeting after everybody broke up for 3 hours watching film and came back and said there's no shortage of talent at Penn State now. I mean, they're loaded up really well.
Is there any way to keep Braxton Miller, like you were just asked this a little bit sort of in another way, how do you change, do you change his game at all now, or do you talk to him about, different, I mean, that big run was a huge play in the game, but how do you corral him a little bit but let him still be him?
I don't think you do. I think you let him be him, and I think we coach as much and teach, and you have opportunity to step out of bounds after a big play, step out of bounds. To be a classic drop back passer right now in his career, I'm not sure how efficient we would be. We're trying to. The thing is, I think more guys need to step up and take some heat off of him, which we did at times this year. Not near where we need to be.
Austin?
Austin Ward, ESPN.com. To build off of Tim's question about handling practice at this point, do you feel like you've been more... This guy, he asked about managing reps throughout the week. But do you do you feel like you've been more unlucky with injuries this year than other years past, or just the scholarship number?
The number, anytime there's staff transition, you get a little transition of roster as well. We had that. And then we had some behavioral issues we had to deal with. And then I think the biggest thing is just some guys got to step up, and you're just disappointed. My gosh, what are you waiting for? Let's go, man. You come to Ohio State to go play. You don't come here to watch your team in a game like that and sing the fights on afterwards. You go to be a part of it. And we still have far too much of that right now. And that's the motivation of everyone involved is let's encourage us, let's go, let's push, let's grind. But every school is dealing with injuries, But one area that got smacked, that couldn't get smacked, was our linebackers. That was the one area, that in the offensive, don't even say that, the offensive line, we're in. But the good thing is Chase Ferris and Taylor Decker have had 2 really good weeks of practice. The linebackers are just, we're hanging on.
It seems like you've been able to actually develop throughout the year wide receiver.
Not near enough. Not near enough. But yes, you're right. Verlon Reed and Chris Fields are active now. And that was a great catch by Chris Fields.
Last question, Bill.
Bill Livingston, Plain Dealer. You had talked earlier in the year about toying with the idea of maybe Kenny and Braxton on the field at the same time. Does this give this new legs?
Well, if we did, it'd be like Braxton be the runner, and I'm not sure that's the right time to do that. So, let Kenny run it? Nah. I love Kenny. Nope. Yeah. You guys have a great day.